Hi everyone, my name is Debra and I am the author of a Passover book. It's called Open-Eyed Heart-Wide Haggadah, and tonight is actually the second night of Passover. And so last night lots of Jewish people were having a Seder, which is a ritual dinner for the observance of Passover, and tonight many people are having a second night Seder. And I thought it would be really fun, since we're all quarantined and in this different sort of state, to do a full reading of my book on Facebook Live. So I have my fingers crossed that my phone and my connection will be good, but I wanted to go ahead and read my book for you, and I invite everyone, if you are Jewish heritage, you can enjoy this and act like it's your second night Seder, and if you're just anyone that's curious and wants to learn more about who I am and what I do, and a little bit about a culture that might be different from your own, I invite you to just really enjoy this. Hi Jeffrey. So I have my book, and I don't drink wine, so I have my guava kombucha. That's going to be part of our ritual. And I also have a Seder plate. And the Seder plate, I'm going to show it to you. I have olives, which are for peace in the Middle East. I have a beet, which is a vegan alternative to a meat bone that would be on the plate. I have a citrus fruit, which is, here I'll show you each one. This is the olive. And I have the beet here. And I have a citrus, which is an alternative, vegan alternative to having an egg. And it's also for LGBT celebration of diversity. And then I've got my parsley, which is for the beginning of spring. I have my horseradish, which is all about bitterness and the suffering of slavery. And I have my haroset, which is an apple. Hi Margot. I have haroset, which is an apple and nut dish, which represents building something new. And then I also have my little dandelion leaves, which are also a bitter herb. So we remember the bitterness of slavery, and it's all on this plate, which I'm going to just tilt my camera here to show you. It's my mom's Passover Seder plate. Oops. So anyway, here we go. So if you have items for the Seder and you want to set up your Seder plate and get out your food and your items, you can, and you can just watch and have this be background to something else you're doing. But it'll probably take me a full hour to go through this whole thing. So here we go. Open-Eyed Heart-Wide Haggadah by Debra in collaboration with Cantor Shira Liba Battalion, and designed by Margot Jennifer Ackroyd. Yay! And this book came out 10 years ago, in 2010. So we have our table of contents. It's a little breezy here, so hopefully my phone will stay put. I was looking for a breakthrough in my relationship to Judaism. Although the tradition felt familiar and beautiful, it didn't move me spiritually to sit in services and chant Hebrew prayers whose letters I could read, but of whose translation I had little understanding. This is my preface. I would leave inspired after services at the New Age Spiritual Living Center or the gay-friendly New Thought Church with gospel choir phenomenality. I did seasonal ritual, morning pages, meditative runs, and even tried Hebrew yoga once or twice. Where was the Judaism that would touch me? I wanted it so bad. To reclaim my heritage and religion of birth, to pull ancient ancestral ritual toward me in a way that made sense and enlivened me. I turned back to all that my New Age search had taught me. If you can't find what you're looking for, then create it. Needless to say, the old coffee standard Haggadah wasn't doing it for me. Here was the biggest holiday of the year for my Reformed Jewish family, the time when we all come together. I took the invitation home for Seder as an opportunity to transform myself from dissatisfied to empowered, guiding us through something that just might touch our hearts. I returned from Santa Cruz to Atlanta, having written my own Open-Eyed Heart-Wide Haggadah. After a few years of marinating and revising, Here is a Haggadah that offers meaning personally, spiritually, and politically. I offer a safe space, a sanctuary for reflection. This Haggadah is here to inspire you to question, collage, and recreate a Passover Seder that is meaningful to you and your family and friends. After all, questioning, and more questioning is what Judaism so beautifully teaches. May you take this as a launching pad to fly. Hi, everyone. So then we have our first section, which is Bedikat Hametz, sweeping the crumbs. Before family and friends arrive, before our matzah has been baked by the sun, let us take this opportunity to do a little spring cleaning. As we sweep the crumbs, wash the windows, sort through clothes for goodwill, take out the nice silverware, we rid the old to allow space in our lives for what is new. This is the space in which magic happens. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al be'or chametz. Bless the crumbs and bless the mess. Bless our Bedikat Hametz process. I have like the traditional Hebrew prayer, and we have the transliteration, which is like how you would actually pronounce those letters. And then we have the traditional translation underneath, and then underneath that we have the creative translation that I created. So here's your Passover checklist. How's the lighting? The sun's in my eyes. Hopefully it's okay. And here is a picture of the Seder Plate and all the different things that go on there. The matzah, the shank bone or beet, the egg or orange, the olive or the karpas, the charoset, and the maror. So matzah symbolizes simplicity, community, and connection. The shank bone or beet symbolizes life, power, sacrifice, and blood. The egg or orange symbolizes the circle of life, fertility, and women. The karpas is seasons, birth, embracing the joys and sorrows of life. The olive symbolizes peace in the Middle East. And the charoset is creative, building and vision, hope and renewal. And then the maror symbolizes remembrance, ancestors, justice, and duty. There goes my phone. Okay, let's try this again. Hi, everybody. Oops. It's a little windy. Let's see. I think I could put my Seder Plate up against the phone. Here we go. All right. Are we still good? Let me put this other dish right over there. Okay, great. So there's that. I just thought it'd be nice to do this outside because it's really pretty out. So here's the Seder order. This is the traditional order that the Passover Seder, these are all the components that it would have. And the idea in this book is that, oh, thank you so much, Lily. Thank you, Philip. The idea is that the book contains all of the traditional elements that the Jewish Passover ritual would have, but then it's sort of like a framework, and then it's very creatively interpreted. So I wanted to creatively interpret this ritual that I grew up with. So Kadesh is the Kiddush or wine. Orchatz is hand washing, which I think is hilarious that hand washing is part of this, because now hand washing is just like this really funny thing right now. Karpas is a green vegetable. Yachatz is breaking the middle matzah. Magid, storytelling. Raksa is more hand washing, which again is hilarious that I wrote this 10 years ago. This is like an age-old thing, and there's 2 times that you wash your hands in here, which I think is really funny. Motzi matzah is unleavened bread. Maror, bitter herbs. Korech, the Hillel sandwich. Shulchan orech is the Passover meal. Safun, finding the Afikomen. Barech, prayer after the meal. Hallel is psalms of praise, and Nirtzah is the conclusion and the 4th cup of wine. And I don't personally drink wine, so I have kombucha. This Haggadah can be passed around the table and shared aloud. You may have a different person read or lead each section, or even go around paragraph by paragraph. Practice bringing the leadership from margin to center. Let the youngest child lead for a change, or the shyest member of the family. Grandma who never got to have a bat mitzvah, or the guest for whom this is a first Seder. Surprise yourself with all the hidden ruach, which that means spirit, just waiting to shine. So then we have page 11, Kavanah, which is welcome. We give thanks to the universe for bringing us together this evening to share in each other's glorious company and remember together this story which has been passed on through generations among Jews and within our own unique families. This is the story of the passage of Jewish slaves from Egypt into the desert with hopes of one day living a life of freedom. In recalling this story, we honor our ancestors and take time to reflect on our own personal struggles and transformations. We journey from limitations to liberation, the inner peace that comes through living our true passions and standing up for ourselves and others. So now we have a candle lighting. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lahadlik ner shel yom tov. And the creative interpretation is, we exalt the creator of this fire, holy in its meditative beauty, magic in its ability to warm and sustain life. We are thankful for the mitzvot, or commandments, available to us as inspiration for living righteous and meaningful lives. And then we say this beautiful prayer, which I love. It's for newness, new days, new things. It's called the Shehechianu. It's Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, Shehechianu v'kimanu v'higianu lazman hazeh. O God, who is all things, we praise you for our aliveness on this planet at this time, for our health, sustenance, and beauty, and for enabling us to be together with those we love this evening. So now we move to page 13. I just want to check my, make sure my phone is like standing up in the way that I want it to. Okay, is that good? The sun's in my eyes, hard to see. With joyful hearts, we greet the festival of our freedom. Through the power of the Spirit, Israel went forth from bondage to freedom, from degradation to dignity. We give thanks for the many liberations we have experienced in days gone by, and we pray that those who suffer still may go forth from bondage into a new day of freedom. Lord, may all who hunger come to rejoice in a new Passover. Let all the human families sit at your table, eat the bread of freedom, and drink the wine of deliverance. And this passage is one that comes from other Haggadahs. The source is unknown, and the wind is blowing my phone over again. So let's see how I can rig this better. Ooh, what about... Let's see. I don't know, we'll have to see how this goes. Okay. We have the first cup of wine, Kadesh. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, Borei Peri Hagafen. We bless the goddess who weaves herself through nature, human hearts, all planets and celestial beings. She is ageless and timeless. Thank you, Goddess, for this nectar of the divine. And again, let us celebrate this first night of Passover with the Shehechianu. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, Shehechianu v'kimanu v'higianu lazman hazeh. Amen. Blessed art thou, Lord our God, King of the universe, who has granted us life and sustenance and permitted us to reach this season. So now we have our hand washing. Before we continue, let us wash our hands of any residue from our day, our week, and even our year. In this moment we emerge as from a mikvah, refreshed and revitalized, knowing that we can choose newness in each moment of our lives. Then we have our karpas, which is a green vegetable. Many of the world religions have traditions which celebrate the arrival of spring. Amidst major world events and our own personal dramas, Mother Nature comes around every year, always dependable, inspiring seeds to sprout and buds to bloom, introducing the same magical spark which brought each of us into miraculous existence out of nothing but love. Christians celebrate Easter, Hindus celebrate Holi, pagans celebrate spring equinox. For Jews, Passover is our celebration of spring. The karpas, or parsley, on our Seder plate, which is right here, symbolizes the budding and blossoming of spring, a chance for renewal and hope. We dip our karpas in salt water, which I actually have, to symbolize the salt of tears. For even as we celebrate new life, we remember those who are suffering, who have suffered or are suffering at this very moment. Some accept suffering as an inevitable part of life. Others work to make change so that less will have to suffer, even through their personal friendships and daily interactions. All attitudes are just, as we are all unique and important in our own ways. So let us bless this beautiful season and the vegetable which comes forth from the earth, and those who work to plant, harvest, deliver, sell, and prepare our food. Isn't that a very poignant prayer for right now? Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri ha'adamah. We bless the force of life which creates the fruit of the earth for our food, our healing, and our livelihood. So you eat your parsley with salt water. And all the pictures are really meaningful to me too. This one was taken at Dancing Rabbit Eco Village in Missouri, where I was an intern in the year 2000 and learned how to build straw bale houses and garden for the first time, and I think I might have even eaten kale there for the first time. Learned a lot about communication skills. A lot of great things that are coming back around right now. So then we have our matzah page, Yachatz, breaking the middle matzah. We now uncover the middle matzah of 3 from our Seder plate and break it in half, reminding us that a whole is made up of pieces. We make sure to keep the smaller piece for the meal and hide the bigger piece as the Afikomen, our dessert, reminding us that most of life is still a mystery. We bless our own broken surfaces, knowing that their brittleness can come from lack of kneading by caring hands. Rather than blaming or expecting someone else to fix us, we use our own hands to mend our hurts and wounds. We know that in the Seder, broken pieces come back together in the end. Hi, Gideon. Now we have the Magid, which is storytelling. And this is my creative interpretation. Or kombucha. As we remember the story of Jewish slavery, we realize the connection between this oppression and other oppressions throughout history and even in today's world. As we take turns honoring each group, we offer a place at our table. We honor the equal rights of people of color in this country, particularly those of African origin who were ripped from their motherland into a life of slavery and degradation in the Americas. Racism still lingers today in ways that are overt, subconscious, and even internalized. As slaves once before, we who are Jews must hold a torch high to the healing of the African American spirit. We honor the dignity of Muslims and Arabs in our neighborhoods who have suffered as targets of fear and racism. We hold a strong vision of a time when around the globe, innocent civilians are free of military threat and invasion. We hold a vision of peace between all nations of people. We honor the indigenous people of this country who were forced to give up land that had been their home for generations. We recognize that most of us are guests upon this land. We honor the sovereignty of indigenous people globally, in their own countries and within their own cultures, which are valuable in their own right. We envision regional culture thriving in this age of globalization. We honor all people of Palestine and Israel, knowing that both Israelis and Palestinians have strong connections to this land. We pray for healing and peaceful coexistence. We honor ourselves and our dear friends and family in this room. Chances are some of us may have felt shamed for being or looking Jewish, being too old or too young, too fat or too thin, too smart or not smart enough, too rich or too poor, too dark or light-skinned, hair too curly or straight. Some of us have felt shamed or shunned for loving in same-sex, interracial, or interfaith relationships, for our gender identities, varying beliefs, abilities, and activities. Most likely, all of us are too hard on our own selves. We recognize that others' criticisms of us often stem from their own fears and insecurities. We recognize how ridiculous all these unwritten standards that we place upon ourselves and each other are. Knowing how fragile we all are, we forgive those who have hurt us. We forgive ourselves. We honor ourselves for doing the best we can and for our beauty, which includes our imperfections. We now lift up our Seder plate as an offering for those who are hungry. May this be your exodus. We have a little salam, shalom, peace, and peace on earth here at the bottom. So we have the 4 questions. So the youngest child sings the 4 questions. Ma nishtana halayla hazeh. I invite you to sing along with me if you're watching. If you know it. Mikol halelot, mikol halelot, shebechol halelot, anu ochlin hametzu matzah, hametzu matzah, halayla hazeh, kulo matzah, halayla hazeh, kulo matzah. Shebechol halelot, anu ochlin sha'ar yirakot, halayla hazeh, kulo maror, halayla hazeh, kulo maror. Shebechol halelot, ein anu matilin afilu pa'am echat, afilu pa'am echat, halayla hazeh, shetei ve'amim, halayla hazeh, shetei ve'amim. Shebechol halelot, anu ochlin ben yoshvin uvein misubin, ben yoshvin uvein misubin, halayla hazeh, kulanu misubin, halayla hazeh, kulanu misubin. So what that means is, why is this night different from all other nights? Why on any other night can we eat leavened or unleavened bread, but tonight we eat only unleavened bread called matzah? Why on any other night can we eat any kind of herbs, but tonight we eat only bitter herbs? Why on any other night do we not dip once in salt water, but tonight we dip twice? Why, I think I have parsley in my teeth. On any other night can we eat or drink sitting or reclining, but tonight we recline? Those are the traditional questions that are always asked. And the picture in the background is some artwork by Jeffrey Lerner. Some of you in Atlanta know him because he does a lot of art festivals, and he contributed 4 of his paintings to this book that are found in the book. And the other illustrations are by me. Let's see. Oops. Wind. Wind, wind, wind. Okay. Hopefully the wind will cooperate with me. So I have my 4 answers here, and a little space for kids that can draw. Hi, Caroline. Ah, the wind is blowing my dandelions away, away, away. So these are my creative interpretations of the 4 answers. The Jews left Egypt in such a hurry that there was no time for their bread to rise or be baked by the sun. Let's see here. Instead, they took the loaves to be baked flat. There was no time for their bread to be baked in the oven. Instead, they took the loaves to be baked flat under the sun. We eat unleavened bread as they did, and we know that life doesn't have to be complicated. Simplicity is livable and sometimes even easier. We also eat unleavened bread knowing that whether it's navigating the bus system in New York, raising 3 kids on a nonprofit salary, single parenting, or self-publishing, we can always find a way to make do in any situation. Let us give ourselves some props and celebrate being strong and beautiful. The bitter herbs remind us of the bitterness of slavery, injustice, and suffering. As we move forward in life, let us always remember where we came from. Your great-great-grandmother probably never got to go to law school or perform spoken word poetry. Let us remember the struggles of our ancestors and their contributions to how far we have come. Let us acknowledge that our world as a whole is still far from peaceful. The first dip of parsley into salt water combines rebirth and the return of spring with the tears of oppression. The second dip of maror into haroset connects the bitter and the sweet, reminding us that sorrow and hope coexist in our world. Through recalling the bitterness our ancestors endured, we commit to building a positive vision for our lives and all others. We stand on the top of a pyramid of ancestors, and they are waiting for us to shine. In the past, reclining at the table was an exclusive privilege for the free. We recline to rejoice in the freedom we are graced with today. Aside from the freedom to practice our religion, we can see that freedom is a state of mind. As hectic and stressed as life can be, and whatever our circumstance, true spiritual freedom comes from counting our blessings, being grateful for all that we do have, having an attitude of gratitude. Let us remember that freedom is always available to us as a choice. I would add freedom and justice. We are eternally grateful to those ancestors who left Egypt, leading us into the freedom that we enjoy today. Hi, Ashley. Hi, Caroline. So then we have our little illustration page for kids that can draw. So this is kind of like the heart of the Seder, which is the storytelling. So we're about like a little over 1/3 of the way through, maybe half, almost half. This is the 4 children. So Jewish tradition introduces us to 4 children with 4 different perspectives on Passover. Do you like my cute little illustrations that I drew like 15 years ago? The first is the intelligent child who asks about the meanings of all the commandments on Passover, especially the one about no entertainment on these special days when we have a Seder. Her dad reads through the Haggadah with her and explains that traditionally there is no entertainment, more kombucha, after the Seder because the Seder is the entertainment. Afterwards is time for personal reflection. The intelligent child reminds us that when we consciously shut off the TV, close the computer, or turn off our cell phones, we can actually hear the voice within guiding and loving us and providing us with answers and peace. The removed child asks, "Why are you having this Seder anyway?" He doesn't feel part of it. This child's grandma explains, "We are connected in a chain of ancestors, and we wouldn't be here today if the Jews hadn't left Egypt. The spirits of these Jewish ancestors are present with us tonight and are basking in the glory of our remembrance, our lives today, and our freedom. Likewise, we wouldn't be here as individuals if our parents hadn't birthed us, loved us, and raised us, and their parents done the same for them. We are all blessed within this wheel of generations." The removed child reminds us that even if we find ourselves on a deserted island, we are always connected in spirit, and ultimately joy is found in grateful participation in community. The simple child asks, "What's going on here? What is this Seder?" To which her cousin explains that we are celebrating our journey from slavery to freedom. This is a story that spans all cultures and times. As we remember and understand this story, we are better able to relate with other cultures' stories. As we deepen our own roots, we begin to see how beneath soil and sand, ages and continents, these roots growing towards the earth's core all intertwine. As we embrace ourselves more and more, we embrace all people. This is why we must tell our story. The simple child reminds us of the importance of simple questions in creating true understanding. For the fourth child, who is too shy to ask, his grandpa simply begins the conversation rather than wait for a cue. Unfortunately, concepts such as waiting to be called on, not speaking until spoken to, children should be seen and not heard, and pressures to fit in still pervade our collective consciousness and limit us as children and adults. For the fourth child, who is too shy to ask, reminding us to listen to the voices of those who are silenced and to have compassion for the ways that we censor ourselves. So then we have the story of the 10 plagues. Okay, here we go. Life in Egypt was going great for the Jews. Their communities were large and growing. This is my creative interpretation, by the way. But this scared King Pharaoh. Pharaoh was afraid they might become too powerful and turn against him. So he made their lives bitter, using Jewish slave labor to build his cities and palaces. Still, the Jewish community continued to grow. Pharaoh ordered that all Jewish babies be killed, hoping he would wipe the Jewish people out. Luckily, the midwives of Egypt couldn't bear to kill new life. They lied and said the births of Jewish boys happened so fast they didn't have time to kill them. Thus, the midwives made more of a difference than any of the men could, saving the lives of thousands upon thousands of Jews. One day, a Jewish mother gave birth to such a beautiful baby boy that she couldn't bear to see him killed. She hid him for the first 3 months, and when she couldn't hide him any longer, she put him in a wicker basket and sent him down the river, hoping that someday he would find a better life. Oops. Oh, hi, Sarah. The baby's sister Miriam, concerned for her younger brother, followed alongside the basket as it floated away. Hiding in the bushes, Miriam realized that he had been found by none other than Pharaoh's daughter, the princess. Thinking quickly, Miriam jumped out to approach the princess and asked her if the baby needed a nurse. Miriam had the perfect plan. The nurse would be their mother. Unbeknownst to the princess, it was the baby's own mother who nursed him in infancy, grateful to be near her child. When the boy was weaned, he left his mother to live with the royal family, and the princess named him Moses, which means brought from the water. Hi. Moses grew up a little differently than his Jewish brothers and sisters, left behind as slaves. With his own private room in the Egyptian palace, no chores, and a closet full of fine silk robes, he understood what it was like to be privileged. As King Pharaoh's adopted grandson, money was never an issue for Moses. As he grew, Moses observed that the Pharaoh believed he could do and have anything. The more King Pharaoh would speak of his wealth, the more it seemed that he would acquire. Meanwhile, Moses' heart went out to the Jewish people, the slaves. He saw how they were suffering, how the Jewish children had to work all day, wear torn clothes, and sleep in crowded rooms. He saw how the Jewish slaves spoke of poverty and suffering, and it seemed to bring them more and more of it. He thought if only the Jewish people could see and experience what he had, they would know there's a better way. They would know that maybe, just maybe, they wouldn't have to live like slaves forever. As Moses began to see the discrepancies, he began to resent the system of slavery in his country, and he began to speak out. In a moment of anger, Moses struck down an Egyptian taskmaster. When the Pharaoh discovered that Moses had acted as a traitor, he threatened to kill Moses. Moses got out of there quick and fled to the land of Midian. Hey! Loving everybody that's tuning in. One day while working as a shepherd in this far-off country, Moses saw a burning bush and heard a voice in the mountains. When he saw that the fire had left the bush untouched, he realized that the voice he heard must be the voice of God. Moses heard whispers of God telling him to return to Egypt to free the Jewish slaves. Although he was scared to return, not wanting to be chosen for this path, Moses knew he must listen to the still small voice of God. This was his chance to stand up for what he believed was truly right. And so, Moses returned to the palace of his childhood and tried to tell Pharaoh what was up, that God had told him that slavery was wrong. Here's our song with another of Jeffrey Lerner's beautiful paintings. I'm going to be singing for you as well. You can sing along. This is a traditional African American spiritual. I folded some traditional Jewish songs and also some songs from other cultures that are perfectly, exactly reflective of this story in the Bible. Okay, let's see if we can do this. When Israel was in Egypt's land, let my people go. Oppressed so hard they could not stand, let my people go. Go down, Moses. I hope you're singing along. Way down in Egypt's land, tell old Pharaoh to let my people go. Thus say the Lord, bold Moses said, let my people go. If not, I'll smite your firstborn dead. Let my people go. Go down, Moses, way down in Egypt's land. Tell old Pharaoh to let my people go. No more in bondage shall they toil. Let my people go. Let them come out with Egypt's spoil. Let my people go. Go down, Moses, way down in Egypt's land. Tell old Pharaoh to let my people go. So just honoring this as a traditional African American spiritual and honoring the story of slavery in the history of the African American culture as well. So here's the continuation of the story. So Pharaoh would not listen, since the palace building companies, this is my creative interpretation, were funding Pharaoh's election campaign. He felt like he couldn't betray their interest in Jewish slave labor. Also, he had his heart set on the latest horse-drawn carriage model, and he didn't want to give it up if he happened to lose all of his wealth. So the story continues that God became angry with Pharaoh for valuing his campaign money over human rights. So God punished Pharaoh with 10 plagues. One plague may have done the trick for an individual to clean up his attitude. However, like the slaves only knew a life of slavery, King Pharaoh grew up only knowing a life of manipulation, corruption, and abuse of power. The Egyptians grew up only knowing a life of comfort based on other people's suffering. This is how it had always been in Egypt. The slaves had been slaves as far back as they could know. It could almost be said that slavery wasn't truly anyone's fault, but it was the fault of the whole system. God decided the whole history, the whole of the generations. It was everyone's fault and no one's fault. And Pharaoh was at fault for not breaking the cycle, now that it had been made known to him that the cycle was wrong. Yes, one plague would have been enough for King Pharaoh, but to flush out a whole system, thought God, that would take a horrible plague times 10. I don't know if you know about any plagues that are happening right now, do you? It's a very interesting story, very relevant, I feel. And thus we have the story of the 10 plagues. So in the traditional Seder, and I drew these really fun little pictures, there's 10 plagues, and people will like dip their finger in their wine, and then they'll put like a drop of, like pretending the wine would be like blood, to just honoring the sacrifice of these plagues. So they go blood, dam, frogs, safardaya, lice, kinim, wild beasts, arav, light, dever, boils, shechin, hail, barad, locusts, arba, darkness, hushech, and death of the firstborn, machat, bicharot. You're supposed to not lick your finger out of respect after you do that. So the story continues with our center. This is like the middle of the book. This is my friend Aviva. She's a belly dancer, and she's Jewish heritage, and I put her in the book. There she is. She's the embodiment of Miriam in the story. So despite these horrible plagues, Pharaoh's heart was hardened, and he refused to let the slaves go. I don't know if we know any leaders like that right now, do we? Anyway, when he asked Moses to compromise, Moses wouldn't back down from what he knew was right, which was freeing all the Jews from slavery. Finally, Pharaoh couldn't take it anymore. He gave in. And Moses was able to lead the Jews secretly out of Egypt into the night, across the desert and Red Sea, into the wilderness. Moses rallied the people from the villages in Egypt, explaining that freedom was possible. He had lived freedom, and he knew. Some of the Jews didn't believe Moses. How could a life of freedom be possible when slavery was all they ever knew? And how could Pharaoh's adopted prince of all people be trusted? When Moses revealed that he too was born Jewish, some people paused and turned their heads. They started to listen and consider hope. If one Jew can believe in freedom, maybe we can too. Some Jews were stubborn and refused to see that a new future was possible. In their apprehension, they stayed in Egypt and remained slaves forever. Most took a chance and followed in Moses' footsteps, walking toward another way. Time was of the essence, so they packed their belongings fast and took their bread to bake in the sun as matzah. When Moses and the Jews finally made it to the Red Sea, they saw Pharaoh's army coming after them. Moses, knowing that God was on his side, held his shepherd's stick up into the air in faith, and the sea parted so the Jews could cross safely. When Pharaoh's army came across the open sea, the water closed up on them and they could not cross. Miriam the prophet led the women in singing and dancing to rejoice in their safe passage. So I have two songs. One is Wade in the Water, and the other is Miriam's song. And I'm going to attempt to sing them both to you because I'm doing this whole book. We're on page 29. For those that have it, you can follow along. If you want to sing along, you can do that. If you want to get your fun Passover food and eat with us and do the Seder Plate with us, you can. And if you don't know anything about Passover, and that's really awesome too, and that's part of why I'm doing this, just to share with you my book and my cultural heritage that I grew up with. So wade in the water, wade in the water, children, wade in the water. God's gonna trouble the water. Okay, I don't think I want to sing the whole thing. Wade in the water. And then here's Miriam's song. It's by Debbie Friedman, who's now an ancestor. I grew up in Reform Judaism, which is a more liberal and Americanized version of Judaism, and she was a great folk singer and created a lot of beautiful songs that I grew up with. And the women dancing with their timbrels followed Miriam as she sang her song. Sing a song to the ones who we've exalted. Miriam and the women danced and danced the whole night long. And Miriam was a weaver of unique variety, The tapestry she wove was one which sang our history. With every thread and every strand she crafted her delight. A woman touched with spirit, she dances toward the light. And the women dancing with their timbrels followed Miriam as she sang her song. Sing a song to the one who we've exalted. Miriam and the women danced and danced the whole night long. As Miriam stood upon the shores and gazed across the sea, the wonder of this miracle she soon came to believe. Whoever thought the sea would part with an outstretched hand, and we would pass to freedom and march to the promised land. And the women dancing with their timbrels followed Miriam as she sang her song. Sing a song for the one who we've exalted. Miriam and the women danced and danced the whole night long. And Miriam the prophet took her timbrel in her hand, and all the women followed her just as she had planned. And Miriam raised her voice with song, she sang with praise and might. We've just lived through a miracle, we're going to dance tonight. And the women dancing with their timbrels followed Miriam as she sang her song. Sing a song for the ones who we've exalted. Miriam and the women danced and danced the whole night long. All right. Yes. Wade in the water. Wade in the water, children. Wade in the water. God's gonna trouble the water. Who are the children dressed in red? God's gonna trouble the waters. Must be the children that Moses led. God's gonna trouble the waters. Wade in the water. Wade in the water, children. Wade in the water. God's gonna trouble the waters. Who are the children dressed in white? God's gonna trouble the waters. Must be the people getting ready for the fight. God's gonna trouble the waters. Wade in the water. Wade in the water, children. Wade in the water. God's gonna trouble the water. Who are the children dressed in blue? God's gonna trouble the waters. Must be the people gonna see this through. God's gonna trouble the waters. Wade in the water. Wade in the water, children. Wade in the water. God's gonna trouble the waters. That is a traditional spiritual. Maybe not traditionally sung by all Jewish people at Passover, but I love to see all of the connections between cultures all telling the same story. So here's our beautiful Jeffrey Lerner painting again. With Moses as a bridge between worlds, physical and spiritual, Egyptian and Jewish, the minds of kings and the minds of slaves, the Jews continued onward and made it safely into their new life. The lesson here is that we can all be bridges in our own lives, using our unique privileges to help others see the possibility of theirs, offering our stories and perspectives to connect and find similarities with others. We can free ourselves of enslavements we still carry in our minds, our hearts, and our spirits. The story of Moses demonstrates that if we do the right thing without compromise, stay clear with our intentions, and remain open to help and guidance, God will take care of the rest. With gratitude, we sing praises for the blessings of our lives, our good health, love from families and friends, our right to contribute our own personal work or gift to the world, our ability to love others and appreciate beauty, to be creative, to sing, dance, and celebrate, and to worship freely. These blessings should come as no surprise. We've earned them just by being our beautiful selves. Alicia, my cousin, my distant cousin. So now we sing Dayenu, which is traditional song, and you can sing along if you're watching and you know the song. And if you don't know it, it's pretty easy to pick up. Hi, Lauren. Ilu hotzi hotzianu hotzianu mi mitzrayim hotzianu mi mitzrayim dayenu 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 Ilu natan lanu et hatorah dayenu. You can bang on things when you sing it. It's kind of traditional, so you can pick this up pretty quick. Dayenu, 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 dayenu. Ilu natan lanu et hashabat dayenu, 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 dayenu. And so people bang on stuff when they sing that. My cousin Alicia is telling me to tell Happy Passover to my family. I will. And you do the same, please. What that song means is it's about giving thanks. And it's very like culturally Jewish. It's like, had God taken us out of Egypt, had God given us the Torah, had God given us the Sabbath, it would have been enough. It's pretty funny, but cool. It's a gratitude song. So now we move on to the beat, which is a vegan interpretation of they call it the shank bone, which is like a, meat, like it's a meat thing. So Rabbi Gamliel, a 1st century Palestinian rabbi, used to say that anyone who has not discussed these 3 things on Passover has not fulfilled her duty. So Pesach, the paschal lamb, or for vegetarians, the paschal yam, or beet, matzah, unleavened bread, and maror, bitter herbs. So here's Pesach, which is the shank bone, beet, or paschal yam. And I took this picture a decade ago when I was managing a local farmer's market in Atlanta, and this farm still exists, and my friends own it. It's called Love is Love Farm. In the Passover story, Jewish families in Egypt smeared lamb's blood on the doorways of their home as a sort of hex or good luck charm that violence would pass them over. We acknowledge the paschal lamb whose bone we use on our Seder plate to remember this blood smeared. We understand that in the case of animals or even vegetables, if we eat anything other than fruit, which falls into our hand, it takes the killing of life to feed life. We are all entitled to eat as feels best for our bodies and spirits, yet we recognize that sacrifice has been made and we give thanks. Those of us here today for whom the blood of an animal would still scare us far away can choose to pass over this ritual of animal sacrifice and place a beet for life's blood or paschal yam on the Seder plate. And I have mine right here, my little beet. Originally I wrote this like not including the lamb at all, but now that there are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of these books out in the universe, I wanted to be a little bit more inclusive. So here we have our matzah page. And me being a raw food chef and a holistic health coach, I actually did flax crackers in this picture, which I think are a really great alternative for matzah. And they're actually made in the dehydrator, which I feel like is really aligned with the idea that the matzah was baked in the sun rather than the oven. So during Passover, we eat matzah, or unrisen bread, as the Jewish ancestors in Egypt did when fleeing across desert land into the wilderness. The story goes that the Jews were in such a hurry to leave that there was no time to bake their bread. They carried loaves on their backs and let them be baked by the sun. Besides boxes of matzah, you can find similar sun-baked bread in health food stores called Essene bread or manna bread. Many of us view matzah as a bread of suffering, when actually it's a more natural bread of the earth. Sometimes in what seems to be our greatest struggle, we can discover the sweet joy of simplicity. Is anyone experiencing that right now? Let us rejoice as we fast from our everyday bread and give our bodies a chance to cleanse and recharge. Then we have our maror, our bitter herbs. I've got another farm picture here when I was managing a farmer's market by Crystal Organic Farms. Fresh horseradish, which is actually a root. Looks kind of like ginger. And this farm's still around too. And there's Martin Luther King, Dr. King, yes we can, yes we will. So we eat maror on Passover to remember the bitterness of suffering in both historic and modern times for Jews and people around the world. We take bitter herbs into our bodies to say, it happened not to you, but to us. None of us is free until all of us are free. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. As kids, we may have hated to eat our broccoli, or we still do, but we knew it was good for us. The same with bitter herbs. Although they may have their bite, bitter herbs cleanse and strengthen the body. Especially as the seasons change, from winter to spring, bitter herbs or maror can help us build our immunity and rid our body of unwanted toxins. Like bitter foods, life's bitterness and challenges make us stronger. We learn what it takes to triumph and we move forward, having grown. And you better believe that nobody in the traditional Haggadah talked about the health benefits of bitter herbs. I had to put that in my version. So then we have our orange on the Seder plate. I have a little tangerine. So this is a passage from Susanna Heschel from April 5th, 2001, and she writes, Wine orange on the Seder plate. In the early 1980s, the Hillel Foundation invited me to speak on a panel at Oberlin College. While on campus, I came across a Haggadah that had been written by some Oberlin students to express feminist concerns. One ritual they devised was placing a crust of bread on the Seder plate as a sign of solidarity with Jewish lesbians. There's as much room for a lesbian in Judaism as there is for a crust of bread on the Seder plate. At the next Passover, I placed an orange on our family's Seder plate. During the first part of the Seder, I asked everyone to take a segment of the orange, make the blessing over fruit, and eat it as a gesture of solidarity with Jewish lesbians and gay men, and others who are marginalized within the Jewish community. I mentioned widows in particular. Bread on the Seder plate brings an end to Pesach. It renders everything hametz, and it suggests that being lesbian is being transgressive, violating Judaism. I felt that an orange was suggestive of something else, the fruitfulness for all Jews, when lesbians and gay men are contributing and active members of Jewish life. In addition, each orange segment had a few seeds that had to be spit out, a gesture of spitting out, repudiating the homophobia of Judaism. When lecturing, I often mention my custom as one of the many new feminist rituals that have been developed over the last 20 years. Somehow, though, the typical patriarchal maneuver occurred. My idea of an orange and my intention of affirming lesbians and gay men were transformed. Now the story circulates that a man said to me that a woman belongs on the bima as much as an orange on the Seder plate. A woman's words are attributed to a man, and the affirmation of lesbians and gay men is simply erased. Isn't that precisely what's happened over the centuries to women's ideas? So now we turn to the prayer, and we have our orange, and the eggs are also part of this. Orange is a vegan alternative as well. These are actually local eggs from Crystal Organic Farm, which is a local farm here in Atlanta. We spit out the seeds of all prejudice and make way for the fullness and juiciness of all. All people are welcome at our table tonight. The orange is also a vegan alternative to the egg on the Seder plate, which are both round, representing the cycle of life, fertility, and fruition. We say the blessing over the orange. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri ha'etz. Blessed are you, Lord our God, King of the universe, who creates the fruit of the tree. Hi, Misha. Okay. Now we're going to move on. Should we have a little orange? I think I need like an orange break. Now we're going to read about the olive. This is actually like a tangerine, I believe, not an orange. But I'm going to have some. I'll try to be quick. Are you enjoying this so far? Is anyone learning something new about a different culture or connecting in a new way to the tradition that they've already experienced? It's juicy. It's good. Okay. The olive. This is not traditionally on the Seder plate, but some people do it. And I definitely wanted to do it. The olive symbolizes our stand for peace in the Middle East. Olive trees grow all over this region, regardless of state lines and religious borders. They provide food and they represent security for generations to come. When olive groves are destroyed through conflict, we destroy the past, present, and future of a people. As in the traditional Hebrew song, Lo Yisagoy, fruit trees, because of their giving nature, symbolize harmony, abundance, and peace. When we recognize the abundance of Mother Earth, we see that scarcity is a myth and that wars over natural resources or even religious rights are based in fear rather than truth. In truth, we can choose to be who we are and have what we want. In truth, we always have what we need. And I'm going to sing you this song, Lo Yisagoy, because it's one of my very favorite Hebrew songs. More of my kombucha. My non-wine wine. Lo Yisagoy el goy cherev, Lo yimedu od milchama. Lo Yisagoy el goy cherev, Lo yimedu od milchama. Lo Yisagoy el goy cherev, Lo yimedu od milchama. Lo Yisagoy el goy cherev, Lo yimedu od milchama. And everyone neath the vine and fig tree shall live in peace and unafraid. And everyone neath the vine and fig tree shall live in peace and unafraid. Hands into plowshares beat their swords, nations shall make war no more. Hands into plowshares beat their swords, nations shall make war no more. I love that song. So we're on to our second cup of wine. With the second cup of wine, we remember that God promised the Jews freedom in the Passover story and that this freedom extends to everyone. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher ga'alanu v'ga'el et avotenu mimitzrayim. Blessed is the universal spirit who freed our ancestors in Egypt and wants all people, animals, and even plants and nature to be free. We can all feel that right now, can't we? Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. We thank the earth for providing fruit as our food, a food we all love that also loves us back. So now we drink the second cup of wine. And this picture was taken at Twin Oaks Community in Virginia, which is an intentional income sharing community that I spent a little bit of time about 20 years ago. And all of these eco-villages and intentional communities, I feel, are quite potent subject matter in this moment in time. Hi, Amy. Oops, can I wave? I'm like holding up my phone with this plate so it doesn't blow over. I'm trying to wave at everyone. So now we move on to rachsa, which is hand washing. Now that our Passover story has been told, we wash our hands again to cleanse the suffering of our past, embrace the beauty of this present moment, and prepare to taste tonight's ritual foods. So I'm actually going to wash my hands because I just ate an orange. So I'm just going to pour a little bit of this salt water that I was using for something else I'm just gonna rinse my hands off and cleanse all that story of suffering that we read. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al netilat yadayim. We give thanks for the renewed energy that comes from keeping order. When we keep ourselves and our homes and spaces clean and clear, our lives run smoothly and easily. Thank you, God, for this beautiful reminder. So now we move on to the Motzi Matzah. I'm sure you've all heard of Matzah. I'm choosing not to eat matzah during this video because I'm matzahed out, and matzah and I don't always agree. I think I do better when I'm gluten-free. So we turn to the matzah on the plate, and this time we taste. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz. There's actually a song for that too. It goes, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. And then we have a special prayer for matzah. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al achilat matzah. Thank you, Spirit, for the grain which grows for us to eat, providing food for all the world and the special Passover matzah. And if I had matzah, I would eat some. Maybe I'll just go like this. It's not matzah, but I'm eating something. Actually, this is kind of the next thing, maror. We eat maror, or bitter herbs, to remember the bitterness felt by all of our ancestors who were oppressed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al achilat maror. We give thanks to these bitter roots and herbs for their kick and their nourishment. This is like straight up horseradish. Should I do it? Is that gonna mess up my... It's not really that spicy. If I had matzah, I'd put it on the matzah. That's what you're supposed to do. Haroset, the sweet mortar. Haroset is a sweet apple mixture on our Passover table. It complements the bitterness of the maror. Paired with the pain of suffering and slavery is the sweet mortar that it takes to build something good and new. While we must never forget that we were slaves, our focus must be on building the futures that we want for ourselves and our children and all people starting now. Truly, there is no other way to live. So Ashkenazi Jews of Northern Europe and Sephardic Jews of the Mediterranean and Northern Africa have passed down two unique versions of the haroset recipe through the generations, and you'll see a picture of a cob house that my friend Aviva built, and we have some recipe. We have a diagram for how to make the Hillel sandwich, which is you put 2 pieces of matzah, you put the horseradish, and then you put the apples and you eat it together. And these are 2 recipes. My mom's recipe for haroset, which is Ashkenazic European, and there's also a Sephardic haroset recipe, which is like one of my mom's friends, and that one is like more cooked stuff. Usually it has yeah, it's just like, I don't know how to explain it. It's kind of like more cooked down apples, you know, like stewed apples rather than the raw haroset. So the korach, the Hillel sandwich. We now break the bottom matzah and distribute to make sandwiches of haroset and maror, bitter suffering and the sweet maror of creativity and renewal. If I'm not for myself, who am I for? If I'm not for others, who will be for me? And if not now, when? And that's a quote by Rabbi Hillel, who's the inventor of the Hillel sandwich, which is that sandwich I showed you. So moving on to page 42, I have my vegan matzo ball soup recipe in the book. Hey, yum. And then we have a prayer for our meals. So this is like what Jewish people go through, this whole long thing. They've hardly eaten anything. They maybe ate like an olive and a piece of matzah. There's my olive for peace. Blessed is this food, and blessed am I. I can be anything as much as my eye can see, all the power that we have together. I'm grateful for blessings now and forever. So if anyone feels moved to share a personal prayer of thanks, you can put that in the comments. You can share it with the people that you're watching with. The space is now open. And let us enjoy our Passover meal. So, page 43. This would be the point where people stop and they put their book down and they eat a meal and they come back. And usually the meal would include like matzo ball soup is very traditional. And also this, what I think is a little bit nasty, but it's called Gefilte Fish. It's like a fish patty. So, but a lot of people like it. I grew up eating it. And I have a recipe for a raw vegan Gefilte wish. Ha 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 ha. And this actually recipe has been on today.com and it's kind of traveled around the internet a little bit. It's basically like almond patties, like soaked almonds and carrots and dulse and like seaweed. And it's pretty yummy. I make them and sometimes I leave them like kind of wet and sometimes I'll just slightly dehydrate them so they're a little bit formulated on the outside and still juicy on the inside. So anyway, everyone eats and they eat dessert, and traditional Passover desserts might include like coconut macaroons, or the old-timey people ate like jelly candies, these jelly candies. So anyway, there's some other Jewish foods that we eat on Passover would be like simis, which is a sweet potato. It's like a sweet potatoes and raisins. Some people will make matzah kugels, but we don't eat any bread on Passover. So anyway, people eat and then we turn to the Afikomen, which is this matzah that was hidden earlier in the Seder, which somehow I forgot to mention on one of the other pages. So we must find the Afikomen, or dessert, before we continue. Wait, you say, isn't the Afikomen just a piece of matzah? Matzah for dessert? There's the idea in Jewish tradition that matzah be the last taste in our mouths. We can enjoy all the flavors of the food that has been lovingly prepared, but we must not forget why we are here. We should walk away from the Seder with the matzah, the bread of our journey, lingering on our tongues. All children in the house may now search for the Afikomen. How you determine who children are is up to you. Since the Afikomen is necessary to continue on with the Seder, the one who finds the Afikomen can bargain with the grown-ups for a prize before handing it over, which we used to get like quarters or $1, or sometimes we would get like a Barbie. It was really exciting when we were little. Let us remember as we receive the Jewish tradition of tithing, giving, or tzedakah, charity. With all that we receive, we must give, for this is the cycle of life. So we have our third cup of wine. Please fill your glasses for the third cup of wine. Now you can do grape juice, or I have my kombucha here. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Blessed art thou, eternal God, ruler of the universe, who creates the fruits of the vine. Cheers. My guava kombucha to you. These are Georgian muscadine grapes. We're moving on to Elijah's cup and Miriam's cup, and this is a picture of Rashid Nuri, who agreed to be in the book. He's an amazing organic farmer, the founder of Truly Living Well Organic Farms here in Atlanta. So his image is portraying Elijah. In 9th century BCE, Elijah was a farmer who led a revolution for workers' rights. It is said that Elijah never died, that he returns once each generation, disguised as an oppressed person, coming to people's doors to see how he is treated. Based upon people's attitudes, Elijah learns if we are truly ready to enter into the Messianic age, a time when justice creates peace. In silence, we pass Elijah's cup, a symbol of our hope, prayer, and knowing that one day this world will know peace. We can start today to bring peace into our lives and the lives around us. We each pour a bit of our wine or juice, our own life, into this physical prayer. I think that's really beautiful. And people will open the door for Elijah he's like a ghost. They'll open the door a crack and let him in to the house. Miriam's cup, which is not traditional. It's more of a feminist add-on to have a woman as well. We welcome Miriam to our Seder. We fill Miriam's cup with water to honor this prophet and well-keeper. Miriam's water sustained the Jews during their dry desert journey. Miriam's cup represents all the women in the Passover story, from mothers to midwives to fierce leaders whose names and narratives were omitted from the recording of the Torah. We honor the women whose labor was unpaid. We honor the women who held it all together. Women have passed on stories, songs, recipes, and rituals through generations. Women have given us strength and the skills to survive. Let us each contribute water to Miriam's cup, as women's roles are truly roles for us all. So we pass Miriam's cup around the table and pour a little bit of water from your glass. So now we open the door for Miriam and Elijah, two prophets whose cups we filled with our own prayers and intentions for nurturing and peace. We now welcome the living reality of those prayers. And here's again, I think this is the fourth and final picture that we got from Jeffrey Lerner, his artwork. He's an amazing artist, folk artist in Atlanta. He does a lot of the festivals and shows here. And dear old friends of mine, he and his soon-to-be wife, Dion, and their kids. So we sing Eli. So if you know this, you can sing along. You can bang on the table. You can pretend to sing along if you don't know it. It goes Eliyahu Hanavi, Eliyahu Hatishbi, Eliyahu, Eliyahu, Eliyahu Hakiladi, Bimera veyamenu, Yavo aleinu. Mashiach ben David, Mashiach ben David. So that means Elijah the prophet, Elijah the Tishbite, Elijah the Giladite. May he come soon in our time and bring the Messiah, the son of David. It's like a very traditional song that would be included for Passover. And then they did a feminist version. It's called Miriam HaNeviah. And this is by Rabbi Leila Gal Berner. It goes, Miriam HaNeviah, Oz v'zimra beyada, Miriam tirkod itanu, lehagdil zimrat olam. Miriam tirkod itanu, letek taken et haolam, bimera v'yamenu, Hetivienu elme hayeshua. I don't even know how to sing that song, but it's in my book. And it says, Miriam the prophet, in your hand our strength and song. Dance with us, increase eternal song, help us to heal the world. Hurry and bring us to waters of deliverance. It's very pretty. This is a painting by none other than Debra Jill Mazer. It's Hallel is a prayer. Psalms of praise is very appropriate for what we're going through right now. Hi, Uncle Alan. Happy Passover to all of you. Min hametzar karati ya, anai va'merchav ya. Out of a narrow place I called to Hashem. Is anyone in a narrow place? I think a lot of us are. And Hashem responded with expansiveness. Let's just breathe that in, right? So, Chad Gadya was always my Grandpa Harvey's favorite Passover song. All of the Nelson Friedmans would sing it with spirit. However, finding the traditional lyrics are a little depressing, I chose to turn the chain of events around into a happy ending. So it goes like, people kind of bang on this one too. Hi, Mike. They bang on the table like, Haggadah, Haggadah. My one kid, an only kid, my father bought for 2 zazim. Haggadah, Haggadah. And it goes on and on and on. And it's actually kind of a violent song about people like killing animals and eating them and fires burning and all of this stuff. But I included it in here because it's like a family favorite. But I changed the last verse, so I'll sing the last verse. It says, "Then came we all, who lived our lives fully in the face of the angel of death, which enlightened the butcher, who pet the ox, who thanked the water, who coexisted with fire, who took space from the stick, who played with the dog, who played with the cat, who loved the kid. My father bought for 2 zazim. Haggadah, Haggadah." So we come to the conclusion. We're getting close to the end of this book. Nirtzah, the 4th cup of wine. These are my Girl Scout uniforms that I put in the book. With the 4th cup of wine or juice or kombucha, as I have, we honor those leaders who've gone unnamed, been overlooked or forgotten. We recognize that oftentimes it is our true heroes who never make it into the nightly news. Teachers, social workers, parents, community activists, children, and teenagers. We realize that our families, friends, and communities are relying on each of us to be heroes in our own lives, to truly live our own personal passions and truths, in order to create a world that is not only more just, but also more joyful for each and every one of us. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei pori hagafen. Amen. Blessed is the one we call God, Goddess, Creator, Spirit, for continually providing us with everything we could ever need. We give thanks for such abundance. In celebration, we also say, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, she'asani bat horin. Blessed are you, Eternal One, our God, Sovereign of all worlds, who has made me free. L'chaim. I'm so glad for everybody that tuned in. We're pretty much at the end here. We've got a nice prayer. Usually in the traditional they would say like next year in Israel, but I wanted to make this kind of like a non-Zionist Haggadah. So instead we did like not really for or against, but just leaving that part out. So L'shana haba'a l'shalem, L'shana haba'a v'shalom. Next year in wholeness and next year in peace. And this is a fun drawing by my sister who's now in her late 30s. And that's her drawing when she was little. By the rivers of Babylon, where there we sat down, and there we wept, when we remember Zion. And the wicked carry us away, captivity require of us a song. How can we sing King Alpha's song in a strange land? Let the words of my heart and the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable in thy sight, over I. By the rivers of Babylon, there we sat down. I hope you're singing along. And there we wept, when we remember Zion. There the wicked carry us away, captivity require of us a song. How can we sing King Alpha's song in a strange land? Let the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable in thy sight, over I. That is a reggae song by the Melodians. Not what you would see in a traditional Haggadah, but it's so related. The Wikipedia definition of Zion is, at this time, 10 years ago, Zion symbolizes a longing by wandering peoples for a safe homeland. This could be a literal place such as Ethiopia for Rastafari, for example. For others, it has taken on a more spiritual meaning, a safe spiritual homeland like in heaven, or a kind of peace of mind in one's present life. And the very last passage is a poem by Judy Chicago. And I actually contacted her to get permission. All the people I got contacted to get permission. The dinner party. This is really beautiful. I feel that the story in this Haggadah is so potent right now in this year and this time that we're in. So the dinner party. And then all that has divided us will merge. And then compassion will be wedded to power. And then softness will come to a world that is harsh and unkind. And then both men and women will be gentle. And then both women and men will be strong. And then no person will be subject to another's will. And then all will be rich and free and varied. And then the greed of some will give way to the needs of many. And then all will share equally in the earth's abundance. And then all will care for the sick and the weak and the old. And then all will nourish the young. And then all will cherish life's creatures. And then all will live in harmony with each other and the earth. And then everywhere will be called Eden once again. And here's like the last page. Just some fun glitter. And we have our credits, and we have our credits for Jeffrey Lerner, amazing artist that contributed to this book. And my little thank you page, which, should I read the thank you page as part of the reading, or is that unnecessary? Hi, Alyssa. I'll read my thank you page. Debra would like to thank God and her mom. She would like to thank late night Ethiopian food along with green smoothies. Thank you to UAHC Camp Harlem for my first spiritual experience. Thank you to Professor Maury Stein for nurturing my flame and widening my world in your classes full of meaningful ritual. Circle Pines, Dancing Rabbit, Row, Twin Oaks, Rainbow Gatherings galore. Thank you for being part of my evolution. Thank you Lois, Aislinn, Carla, Ella, Liana, Carolyn, L, for your love and support. Sark, Sabrina Ward Harrison, thank you for inspiring me with your colorful style. Shira, thank you endlessly for your patience, support, wisdom, encouragement, and drive, for not only being my rabbi on demand, but also my resident psychic and precious dear friend. This would never have happened without you. Margot, you are a blessing sent from the metaphorical Zion. Thank you for being so grounded and on it. Your instant creativity and contribution is a miracle. You pulled it all together and made the book look real. Thank you, Justine Rubin, for being the original creative visionary for all the layout, font, and illustrations, and for all of our wonder-filled creative sessions together. Thank you to everyone at the Dunwoody Seders who welcomed my head wrap and vegan Gefilte Fish experiments, and to our beautiful multicultural Seders of friends in Atlanta these past few years. This was written in 2010. Thank you to the universe for giving me a little extra free time in the beginning of 2007 to edit and write. I give thanks for the chance to give my gift and allow the Creator to speak through me. Thank you to my Artist Way group for encouraging me to wear my many colors bright. I give thanks for the first 30,000 copies sold. Okay, it has not been anywhere near that many copies. It's okay though. Blessed be, Ashe. And last but not least, again, thank you to my mom, my ultimate Wonder Woman, for your never-ending support as therapist, friend, creative consultant, and delivery service. I love you. Love, Debra. And these are the contributors to the book. Debra Mazur, that's me, is a singer, performance artist, writer, dancer, alternative, raw food, supermodel, chef, actress, and goddess bather. Hi, Hannah. Debra leads community events and workshops on healthy food, race relations, and healing through self-expression. A magna cum laude graduate of Brandeis University, Debra has used her sociology and women's studies degree to become a New Age priestess, radical fairy, cross-cultural community activist, and healer. Author of 3 raw food recipe books and an autobiographical cartoon. Debra is so happy and grateful to have published her big-time multimedia autobiography and have co-founded a raw food eco-village in Hawaii. This is hilarious. I wrote this like 10 years ago. This is my fantasy 10 years ago. By the year 2012. Although she could spend all day at Dillard's, she also loves sleeping under the stars. DebraMazer.com. By the way, you can go to DebraMazer.com and buy this book, Open-Eyed Heart-Wide Haggadah, and I will ship it out. I just got some orders, post-Passover orders today that are going to go out tomorrow. So my collaborator was Shira Liba Battalion. She's in the middle. She was my rabbi on demand for this book. Shira was invested as a cantor at the Reconstructionist Rabbinical College and Gratz College in Philadelphia. She studied in West Africa, taught juvenile weapons offenders, ran a multicultural after-school program, managed an organic garden, and worked on the 2008 Obama campaign. Her writing has been published in a collection of essays for teens called God, Jewish Choices for Struggling with the Ultimate, published by Torah Ora. She's currently working on several other editing projects on issues of empowerment and healing. Shira hopes to use Jewish values and the power of song and prayer to support the development of healthy communities and help us all recognize our interdependence across cultures so we may together create a peaceful and sustainable world. And her website, which was back then, but I think it's still going on now, is shiraliba.com. Shira and I met at a raw food talk that I gave at the Feminist Bookstore, and that's how we met, and she collaborated with me to help birth the book even more than it already was. And the designer of the book, so I illustrated it. I used illustrations by Jeffrey Lerner, but we needed someone to actually do the computer part, to lay it all out, to piece everything together graphically, and put the vision to life. Execute the vision, and also help co-create the vision. So Margot Jennifer Ackroyd graduated from Savannah College of Art and Design with a BFA in Communication Arts in 2008 and is now a graphic designer living in Atlanta, Georgia. In 2006, Margot's winning exhibition design was built for SCAD in the SGTA Atlanta Jewelry Show at the Cobb Galleria. Margot has also interned for Daniel's Communication Group and has done numerous print and web designs projects for businesses in the Atlanta area. Margot enjoys exploring Atlanta and all that it has to offer. Having lived in Georgia, Massachusetts, Virginia, and Illinois, her design goal is to create something from each state in America. So you can view her work at margotackroyd.com. Hi! So I wanted to just do and that's it. And then you can order copies at DebraMazer.com. You can find, here's the back cover, which features art by Jeffrey Lerner. It says, "Questions Always." And my snazzy barcode, which enabled me to sell this on Amazon. It's on Amazon. It's on Etsy. You can look for it there. Open-Eyed Heart-Wide Haggadah by Debra Mazer. You can Google it. You can look on my website, DebraMazer.com. I am shipping print orders of this book. I'm going to the post office tomorrow with my mask and my gloves. And I hope that you've enjoyed experiencing a Passover Seder using my book, Open-Eyed Heart-Wide Haggadah. I wanted to come on and do a reading because we're in such an unprecedented time. And I hope that you all enjoyed this. So feel free to share this video with your friends, your family, your loved ones. You can press the share button and share it. I might upload this to YouTube possibly. I've never done a read-through of the book before like this, and I've never done it online. So thank you for being with me. Happy Passover, happy Pesach, Chag Sameach, as they say, happy holidays, and lots of love and lots of blessings to you. Does anyone have anything else they want to say? I hope you all enjoyed. You can watch over from the beginning. It's been a long reading of all the different components, singing songs, and I've really enjoyed sharing with you this afternoon. Much love, blessings and peace and wholeness, justice and health and safety and abundance for all. Lots of love.